I'm Idiotech, and today I want to talk about my experiences with the Battlefield 5 beta. It was good. Surprisingly so. I was shocked to be enjoying the game because the last game from the Battlefield franchise that I truly enjoyed was Bad Company 2. Battlefield 3 had a ton of issues for me, and it had poor map design, on release at least. I dropped the game pretty quickly because it just wasn't gelling with me for whatever reason. Battlefield 4 didn't work on release and constantly crashed for me, so I gave up on that as well. Battlefield 1 was a clusterfuck with no teamwork, so I didn't really enjoy that either, and I kind of moved on from Battlefield and I thought, well, they're never going to fix this. But apparently in Battlefield 5, the developers have decided that they want to actually fix the game and make it focused around team play and have it be a skill-based video game again, which is very surprising, and I found myself thoroughly enjoying the beta. So I want to talk about the reasons why I enjoyed the beta, and I also want to talk about some of the reasons I didn't enjoy the beta and things that were wrong with it, and I'll briefly address issues like authenticity. So let's get into it. So I won't spend too much time talking about visuals and sound design and destruction because frankly they're always fantastic in these games. DICE are known for their visuals and their excellent sound design when it comes to the Battlefield games. But what I want to focus on here is the team play aspect, because DICE have really put in the attention and effort needed this time to try and bring their player base back around to team play. In the previous game, Battlefield 1, you could run around and be a one-man army, and while that was fun for some people, I didn't enjoy it, and it's not the reason I play Battlefield in the first place. Or any team-based, squad-based military shooter, right? If you want that, play Call of Duty. So I'm happy to see they moved this way. Now, how have they done that? Well, they've done it through the attrition system in part. The way it works is this. You have limited ammunition and limited healing abilities. So if you're playing an assault character, you will start the game with 2 magazines, I think, one in the gun and one in your pocket. And so in order to solve that problem, you need a support with you to give you more ammunition, which encourages team play. You can also run to a point and they will have ammunition depots and health depots there. You can pick up a health pack for yourself, which will allow you to self-heal, and you can pick up some extra ammunition. Another good thing about the attrition system is that if you get shot, you won't fully revive all of your health, which is really nice because it forces you to be around medics and get healing from medics. And another change they've made is that anyone in the game can res you, can revive you when you fall down, but you won't come back with full health and it takes longer. So again, it encourages people to have medics. I love that system so far. At the beginning of the game, I run to a point, I capture it, I fill up on ammunition, I fill up on health, and off I go with my team to secure the next objective, at which point I can fill up on ammo and health again, and if I have a support and a medic with me, they can top me up as we go. I really enjoy that system. I don't have many complaints about it. They are planning to tweak it and change it a bit moving forward, but overall, I think that's a fantastic direction for the game to go in. Once people sort of understood how that system worked, people started to work more cohesively together, and this was in public groups. I did play with friends, but I also played with public groups, and most of the time people were working together as a team. Next up is limited spotting. Now, I think snipers, as in the recon class, can do some limited spotting with binoculars, but for the most part, there are no spotting abilities in the game, which is wonderful because you're not just looking for red markers on the screen, you're actually looking for enemies. You have to use your ears and your eyes to locate enemies and kill them, which I find to be very satisfying because, you know, it's a video game. We should be challenged to some degree when playing it. In the past, not so much. You just look for the red markers and then you shoot people. If you're not sure if that guy over there is a guy, you press the Q button, it marks him. Oh, yes, it is a guy, and then you shoot him. It's just silly, unnecessary, unrealistic, and I don't want to use this word, but casual, right? It's casual. It doesn't provide you with any challenge. So now you have to use your eyes. That's a huge change for the franchise, and that has been in the game since Bad Company 2, I believe. So, huge change. I thoroughly enjoy that change. It makes the game far more skill-based. You have to use your eyes and ears. It's a great change. Removal of random bullet deviation. Now, in previous Battlefield games, you could aim at a target, have your crosshairs dead on the enemy head, and pull the trigger, and the bullet would miss. They've removed that from the game, thankfully, because it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be there. Now, there is recoil with weapons, obviously, and that is the case in this game. They have fixed recoil patterns that you can learn, which is great, because once you can control recoil, then you have better skill with the weapon. And it makes each weapon feel different and unique, and you can learn each of those weapons. Very cool. That's how shooters should be, in my opinion. So when you pull the trigger and the crosshair is on a man's head, that bullet will hit him in the head unless he's at extreme range and you're facing bullet drop and things like that. But that makes a huge difference because I can kill things more frequently. If there's a man there and I get the jump on him, I pull the trigger and he dies. That's great. In Battlefield 1 that would happen, and sometimes he wouldn't die. Then he'd turn around and shoot me in the head. That wasn't cool. So I'm very happy to see that they fixed that. Again, as I mentioned, fixed recoil patterns. This is great. It allows you to learn weapons, develop skill with those weapons, become proficient with those weapons, and it rewards people for putting in time with specific weapons, which is a great thing in a skill-based video game. The time to kill in the game has been reduced. So if you get the drop on someone, you can shoot him and he will die. The problem with longer time to kill, I find, is that in games where there are variations between weapons, as in someone might have a very high-powered rifle, right, and you're shooting at them with an SMG, if you get the drop on him and the time to kill is high, he can turn around while you're shooting him and shoot you in the head and kill you before you can kill him. In this game, that seems to be resolved to some degree by lowering the time to kill. So I'm really happy they made that change. It also feels far more lethal when you're playing. I think it leads to a more skill-based and balanced experience for people. They've made some changes to snipers as well. I played the sniper class for a little bit. I don't like playing snipers in Battlefield games because I don't feel like I'm really helping my team. However, because of the attrition system, it's very difficult for snipers to just run off to the edge of the map and take pot shots at people all day. You actually have to be near someone who can resupply you with ammunition or near a point so that you can get ammunition from crates. So it kind of forces snipers to be slightly closer to the fray, which I also appreciate. But another change they made is that you have to get headshots for kill damage, which is good because, again, it rewards skill. If you're a shit sniper and you're just taking pot shots at people and hitting them in the body, they can run away and heal up. Whereas in previous games, they could take body damage and be almost dead or practically dead. So yeah, I think that's a good change. Forcing snipers to be good with the weapon means that hopefully not every man and his dog has a sniper rifle and people move towards other weapons and the people who are actually good with sniper rifles stick with them. That's the hope, at least. I also found that many of the games in Conquest were very, very close games. We'd often win by like one ticket. I'm not entirely sure of the changes they've made to the system, but you didn't tend to get very lopsided games where a team would win by like 300 tickets, for example. So whatever they've done there makes for very tense and enjoyable gameplay experiences. The conclusion here on the good is that they're focusing on team play. They're focusing on having to work together as a group to achieve a goal. Removing random bullet deviation, lowering the time to kill, giving people fixed recoil patterns. It's obviously focused on skill and good players being better than shit players and giving people an incentive to play together and work together. Does that always work? No. And now we'll move on to the bad. Okay, so first up, let's just briefly get this out of the way. The user interface is absolute trash in this game. You have to click like 7 times to get to certain menus. It's ludicrous. I don't know why it's like this. Hopefully it's just something in the beta and they can address this before release, because right now it's cumbersome and annoying and very bare bones and not particularly interesting to look at. The upgrade system in the game. The problem with this system is twofold. One, it's boring and lazy, and what they used to do in the past was give you attachments that you could add onto the gun, and they would give you, like, I don't know, slightly better horizontal recoil. But now it's just a perk, and you unlock it. Seems very lazy. Hopefully that's not the way it is in release, but I have a feeling it might be. But the real problem with this system is there are no downsides to it. So you start with an SMG, for example. Say it's got quite a lot of recoil and limited ammunition. And you upgrade that, and it lowers the recoil, and it gives you more ammunition. Cool. The gun's better now. Problem is there are no downsides to that. So someone with a maxed out SMG versus someone with a brand new SMG is going to have a clear advantage. That's not good. There should be downsides. In previous Battlefield games, when you got an attachment upgrade, it would give you a negative as well as a positive to try and balance things out. Another problem here, and that is a major one for me, is the uneducated nature of the player base and the lack of tutorialization. It's not the player's fault. It's the developer's fault. They've pushed players down one direction over the years as they've chased the Call of Duty money. They've pushed players into this run and gun Rambo style, just focus on kill, 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 kill. Don't worry about team play. Don't worry about objectives. Just get as many kills as you can. Get to the top of the leaderboard. That kind of mentality is bad in a game like this, a game that's supposed to be about team play and objective-focused gameplay. Unfortunately, because they've done that for so long, a lot of their player base doesn't know how to play any other way. And a lot of people are very angry about this game for multiple reasons, some political, but also they're angry because the game's changed for them and they can't run and gun and be a one-man army. I personally love that. Some people hate it, but if they want people to actually adopt this system, they're going to have to introduce tutorials. They're going to have to do it some way. My recommendation for what they could do here is take a page out of Rainbow Six Siege's book. What they did was have video tutorials that if you watch them, you get in-game currency. That's a perfectly good idea, and it would work here very easily. Give people in-game currency, they can unlock new perks for their guns, they can unlock customization. Make people watch some videos. Hey, this is how you play a medic. Hey, this is how you play support. This is how you build structures. I think they need to do something along those lines, because otherwise people are just going to do what they've always done, get frustrated, and drop the game. And that's kind of unfortunate, because the game's really enjoyable once you play it the way it's intended to be played, the way it's been designed. Okay, next up, bugs and crashes. The game's full of bugs, all kinds of bugs, revive bugs, visual bugs, glitches, getting stuck on walls, getting stuck on the floor. There's tons of bugs. It's a beta. I expect that hopefully they can resolve those issues before release. The revive system has a lot of issues as well. A lot of people are complaining about this because when you get shot, you lie on the ground, you can either hold the right mouse button to call for help from a medic, or you can press the left mouse button to speed up the bleed out timer. It seems kind of unnecessary. If you want to go with a system like this, I would honestly suggest you remove the ability to just bleed out and have people, if they get shot in the head, they're dead. If they don't get shot in the head, then there's a period of time they have to wait on the ground before they'll bleed out and die, and that gives medics an opportunity to heal them. They also need to call out to those medics much better than they currently are. Sometimes the icons don't show up. Sometimes it's not immediately obvious to you because the person's behind you and there's no icon or indicator that someone behind you needs your help. So they need to improve and tweak this a little bit. Also, if you've been laying there for 10 seconds bleeding out, you probably shouldn't have to wait another 10 seconds to get back into the game from the deployment screen. So hopefully they fix that. Now, let's get on to some of the more controversial issues with the game. Problems with authenticity. Now, I do sympathize. I do sympathize with people who wanted a more authentic World War II experience. In the beta, a lot of the cosmetic options that they've been talking about, like katanas and robot arms, none of that stuff was in the beta. So it doesn't feel particularly weird or bad when playing the beta as it is right now. Once that stuff comes out, who knows? It might be terrible. It might be like Call of Duty. I don't know. I'm concerned about that myself because I want a more authentic World War II experience personally. But when it comes to what's actually there right now, the fact that they've honestly removed the Nazi Party from history is a bit weird, and it doesn't lead to a very authentic feeling game. You know, when you're fighting the Nazis, you want to kind of see the Nazis and see Nazi propaganda and see their flags and be like, I'm fighting the Nazis. But I understand why they didn't do that, because the other players are going to have to play as Nazis, and there's all kinds of political nonsense that comes along with that. There are some other issues as well. For example, women being on the front lines for the British forces and the German forces is very unrealistic. But it's a video game, and I'm willing to let that go personally because the game is fun. I don't really care. When people are at distance, I can't tell what sex they are. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to shoot them. They're going to die. That's how it's going to be. So I haven't actually run into too many problems, but one thing with authenticity that I did run into problems with, and it's not really an authenticity issue, it's more a choice of location, is that many of the locations in this game are not particularly iconic. You know, we're not fighting D-Days here. We're fighting in Narvik, some random battle I've never heard of, and maybe I should have heard of it, and this game has actually made me go look it up. But still, it doesn't feel particularly epic because I'm not reliving these experiences with a modern engine. You know, in Battlefield 1942 or Medal of Honor or any of these old games that visited the World War II setting, they gave us these iconic set pieces. And with a brand new engine in 2018, it would be really cool to go revisit those awesome set pieces. But instead we get locations that most of us have never heard of. Now, that's a good thing in the sense that it forces you to learn something about history, I guess, but also it doesn't feel as World War II-ish as I would hope it to feel, which is unfortunate because with this kind of technology, I think it'd be really cool to revisit those iconic locations and experience that stuff in the modern age. So that feels like a bit of a missed opportunity there for me. And finally, a big problem I have is the lack of content on release. The co-op mode is not going to be there on release. The Battle Royale mode is not going to be there on release. There's a ton of other features like dragging bodies as a medic. That's not going to be there on release. They've removed the rush mode from the game, so we have grand operations, which is sort of a thematic set piece thing where they tell a little story and teach you a little bit about the history, I guess, of that area in a multiplayer setting, and that's nice. They're fun. It's fun to play, but you play it a couple of times, you get bored, you stop playing it, and you go back to Conquest. Not having rush mode in there is a real disappointment because it's one of my favorite game modes. It's very obvious when playing the beta that this game is behind schedule. It's very obvious that they've run into some production issues. But for me, the core gameplay experience here is really enjoyable, and I haven't enjoyed a Battlefield game this much since Bad Company 2, which is saying something. It really is. If you played those games, if you played all the Battlefield games, it really is saying something to have to make that statement, because it's not a statement I thought I was going to make. I love the focus on team play here. I love the attrition system. I love the removal of spotting. I love the fixed recoil patterns. I love the low time to kill. I love this new focus on skill. I just hope that they tutorialize this new way of Battlefield so that the player base from previous games gets behind it. I hope they can do a better job marketing this before release. And I hope with this extra month they've given themselves that they can fix all of the problems that this game has right now, and we can get a great game, even if it doesn't have all the content it necessarily should on release. I should also point out before I leave that there are no power-based microtransactions. We don't know what they're doing with cosmetics yet, but you won't be able to buy power like Star Wars Battlefront. And all DLC and content moving forward will be free. They're not going to split the community with that nonsense. So I think DICE is moving in the right direction here, at least for me. And a lot of other veteran Battlefield players, you know, old school Battlefield players, are really enjoying this as well. So I think if they do another beta, which I'm pretty sure they're going to before release, I would very much recommend that you check it out. If you fell off the Battlefield series a long time ago, please check it out. I think you will be pleasantly surprised by what they have to offer here. I hope you found this video interesting, and I will see you guys next time.